Hey, welcome back to the podcast. If you caught last episode, we dove into trust, specifically how to compress that trust building process during Black Friday, when people are moving at lightning speeds, clicking through tabs, comparing products, making decisions in minutes instead of weeks. And this episode will continue in our Black Friday series of episodes. And in this episode, we're going to dive deep and look at how to use the unique mechanism aspect of selling supplements, specifically during Black Friday. We're going to talk about how to compress your mechanism without losing its power. We're going to talk about which ingredients to highlight and which to downplay, and how to use proof without derailing the flow of your copy. We're going to connect the mechanism directly to your Black Friday offer so they reinforce each other instead of existing in isolation. And I'm going to give you a simple 3-sentence framework you can use to craft your core mechanism messaging for Black Friday. Something that's tight, something that's compelling, and actually gets read by people who are moving fast. Because here's the reality. During Black Friday, you're competing with dozens, sometimes hundreds of other supplement brands. Everyone's offering discounts. Everyone's running promotions. Everyone's trying to grab attention. The brands that win aren't necessarily the ones with the biggest discounts. They're the ones that give people a reason to believe, a reason to hope, a reason to choose their product over all the others that look basically the same. And that reason is your mechanism. When you get it right, when you craft it specifically for Black Friday mindset, it becomes the differentiator that actually matters. It's what makes someone think, okay, this one is different. This one might actually work for me. So if you're ready to stop treating your supplement like a commodity and start positioning it as the solution people have been looking for, let's dive into this episode. Welcome to Health Business Mastery, the Creative Thirst podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Hewitt. Okay, so in the last episode, we talked about how to compress the trust building process during Black Friday when people are moving fast and making decisions in minutes or seconds instead of weeks. And trust is absolutely critical because without it, nothing else matters. If someone doesn't trust you enough, they won't buy from you. But trust alone doesn't close the sale. Trust gets you in the game. Trust gets someone to consider what you're offering. Trust makes them think, okay, this seems legitimate. Maybe I should look at this more closely. But trust by itself doesn't create the emotional energy needed to actually click that buy button. Trust doesn't give someone hope that their life is going to be different. Trust doesn't make them believe that this time, finally, they're going to get the results they've been looking for. That's where your mechanism of action comes in. Now, if you've been following my work for any length of time, I talk about the unique mechanism constantly. It's one of the most important elements of selling supplements online. It's the thing that separates you from every other supplement making similar claims. It's the reason why your product is going to work when everything else they've tried has failed. But here's what most supplement brands get wrong during Black Friday. They either completely abandon their mechanism messaging because they think people just care about the discount, or they keep their mechanism messaging exactly the same as it is the rest of the year, not realizing that the way people process information during Black Friday is completely different. Both approaches are mistakes. Let me explain why. First, let's look at the idea that you should just drop your mechanism messaging during Black Friday and focus only on the deal. This comes from a fundamental misunderstanding of supplement buyers. Remember, supplements are not impulse purchases like a pair of socks. Supplements require hope. They require belief. People need to believe that what you're selling is actually going to help them solve their problem or achieve their goal. And your unique mechanism is what creates that hope and belief. It's the answer to the question, why should I believe this will work for me when everything else hasn't? If you strip that away, if you just show a bottle with a 50% off sticker on it, you're treating your supplement like a commodity. You're saying, hey, this is the same as everything else out there. It's just cheaper right now. And maybe that works for some products, but it doesn't work for supplements, at least not if you want to build a real brand and not just be a race to the bottom price competitor. So you need your mechanism. You absolutely need it. But, and this is a big but, you need to adapt it for the Black Friday mindset. Because here's the second mistake brands make. They keep their mechanism messaging exactly the same during Black Friday if they are even using it at all. They've got this long, elaborate explanation of how their supplement works with detailed scientific explanations, multiple mechanisms of action, charts, and graphs and studies. And that's all great. That kind of depth works really well in a long form sales letter or a video sales letter where someone is in a low emotional state. But on Black Friday, I mean, the actual shopping day, and this goes for Cyber Monday too, people don't have that kind of time or attention. They're not in deep research mode. They're in speed mode. They're scanning, not reading, even more so than normal. They're comparing, not studying. They're looking for reasons to say no quickly. So you need to compress your mechanism. You need to distill it down to its most essential, most compelling form. You need to make it hit fast and hit hard. Think of it this way. Your mechanism messaging normally might be like a full meal, multiple courses, complex flavors. It takes time to eat and digest and appreciate. But during Black Friday, you need to turn that into a shot of espresso. Still potent, still has all the good stuff, but concentrated and fast acting. All right, so how do you actually do this? How do you adapt your unique mechanism for Black Friday buyers? Let's start by breaking down what a mechanism actually does. And I'm going to get a bit theoretical here for a minute, but stay with me because this is important for understanding how to adapt it. A mechanism has two parts. I call them the mechanism of trust and the mechanism of hope. The mechanism of trust explains why they've been struggling. It identifies the root cause of their problem. It says, here's the real reason you haven't been able to lose weight or lower your blood pressure or sleep better or whatever. And it's usually something they haven't heard before, or at least it's framed in a way that makes them go, oh, that makes sense. I never thought about it like that. This builds trust because it demonstrates understanding. It shows that you get their problem on a deeper level than just the surface symptoms. It makes them feel like you actually know what you're talking about. The mechanism of hope explains how your supplement addresses that root cause. It's the solution. It's the missing piece they've been looking for. It says all those other things you tried failed because they didn't address your problem this way. But our supplement does, and here's specifically how it works in the body. This creates hope because it gives them a logical reason to believe that your supplement might actually work for them when other things haven't. It's not just another random product making vague claims. It's a targeted solution to a specific problem. Both parts are necessary. The mechanism of trust alone just makes them aware of their problem without giving them a solution. The mechanism of hope alone seems like baseless claims without the setup of why other solutions have failed. But here's the critical thing for Black Friday. You need to deliver both parts fast, really fast, like in a few sentences instead of a few paragraphs. So let's talk about how to compress the mechanism of trust. In your normal marketing, you might spend quite a bit of time building up to the root cause revelation. You might walk through their symptoms, acknowledge different things they've tried, build some tension, and then finally reveal the underlying issue. That's good storytelling. That's good persuasion. But it takes time. It takes a longer page. It takes more words. Lots more words. During Black Friday, you need to cut straight to it. Lead with the insight. Lead with the aha moment. Here's an example. Let's say you're selling a joint health supplement. Your normal mechanism of trust might be something like, you've been told that joint pain is just a normal part of aging, that there's nothing you can do about it except take pain medication and hope for the best. You've tried glucosamine, you've tried chondroitin, you've tried fish oil. Some things helped a little, but nothing really solved the problem. And here's why. The real issue isn't just inflammation or cartilage breakdown. The real issue is that as you age, your body produces less and less of a critical compound called hyaluronic acid. And without sufficient hyaluronic acid, your joints can't maintain the cushioning fluid they need to move smoothly and painlessly. Okay, that's fine. That works. But it's too long for Black Friday. You need to compress it down to something like, the real reason your joints hurt isn't just inflammation. It's that your body has stopped producing enough hyaluronic acid, the compound that keeps your joints cushioned and lubricated. See the difference? Same core insight, same mechanism of trust, but delivered in 2 sentences instead of a full paragraph. It hits the key point quickly and moves on. You're probably thinking, why doesn't that work all the time? What does Black Friday have to do with it? It's simple. Remember, on Black Friday and Cyber Monday, people are in buying mode, specifically fast buying mode. All other times of the year, they are in research mode. Got it? Okay. Now let's talk about compressing the mechanism of hope. Remember the other part of the unique mechanism. Your normal mechanism of hope might include a detailed explanation of how each ingredient in your formula works, the specific biological pathways they affect, the synergistic effects when they're combined, maybe some information about bioavailability or absorption. Again, all good stuff, all builds belief. But too much for Black Friday. During Black Friday, you need to focus on the most compelling part of your mechanism, the part that's most unique, most interesting, most believable, and you need to state it simply and confidently. Continuing with the joint health example, your compressed mechanism of hope might be something like, our formula combines a patented form of hyaluronic acid with bioperine for maximum absorption. So your body actually gets the compounds it needs to restore joint cushioning naturally. That's it. You've told them what's in it. You've given them a reason to believe it will be absorbed effectively. And you've connected it back to the root cause you identified in the mechanism of trust. Done. Move on to the offer. Now, I know some of you are thinking, but wait, I've got like 5 key ingredients. I've got clinical studies. I've got all this science to share. Don't I need to include all of that? And the answer is, eventually, yes, but not in your primary mechanism messaging on your Black Friday landing page or ad. That detailed information should be available for people who want to dig deeper. Put it in an expandable section. Put it in a FAQ. Put it on a separate science page they can click through to. But don't front load it. Don't make people wade through all of it before they understand the core mechanism. Think of it like this. Your compressed mechanism is the headline. It's the hook. It's the thing that makes them interested enough to want to learn more. The detailed science is the supporting evidence. It's there for people who need that extra layer of proof, but it's not the first thing you lead with. All right, so that's how you compress the 2 parts of your mechanism. But there's another element we need to talk about, and that's how you frame your mechanism for deal-focused buyers specifically. Because here's something interesting about Black Friday psychology. When people are in deal hunting mode, they're actually more skeptical than normal. They're used to seeing big discounts in products that seem too good to be true. They've got their guard up. They're looking for reasons not to believe you. So your mechanism messaging during Black Friday needs to be extra grounded. It needs to feel logical and reasonable, not hyped up and exaggerated. This is where a lot of brands get it backwards. They think, oh, it's Black Friday. Everything is turned up to 11, so I need to make bigger claims, use more superlatives, really amp up the excitement. But that actually triggers skepticism in supplement buyers during this time. Instead, you want to dial back the hype and dial up the logic. You want your mechanism to feel like a rational, scientific explanation, not a marketing pitch. One way to do this is by using what I call explanatory language instead of promissory language. Promissory language is when you focus on the end result. Things like you'll lose 20 pounds in 30 days, or you'll eliminate joint pain completely, or you'll feel 20 years younger. And look, I know none of that is compliant. Those are just examples. They are promises. And during Black Friday, they often trigger the skepticism alarm. Explanatory language is when you focus on how it works. Things like this formula helps your body regulate the hormones that control fat storage, or these compounds support the natural cushioning in your joints, or these ingredients help optimize cellular energy production. These are explanations. They feel more scientific, more grounded, more believable. Now, the problem is most supplement brands stop there. They fail to connect the explanation to the desired outcome. You can't just talk about mechanisms without ever mentioning what it's actually going to do for them. But the emphasis should be on the how, with the what as the natural consequence. So instead of lose 20 pounds in 30 days with our revolutionary formula, which is not allowed, you'd say something like, our formula helps regulate the fat storage hormones that make weight loss so difficult, so you can finally start seeing consistent results on the scale. See how that's different? The second version is still promising weight loss, but it's framed through the mechanism. It feels more credible, more thoughtful, less like hype. Another way to make your mechanism more grounded during Black Friday is to acknowledge limitations. This sounds counterintuitive, but hear me out. When you position your supplement that works with no effort required, you lose credibility because no one actually believes that. They've been burned before. They know that real results take some time and consistency. So instead of avoiding any mention of what your product can't do, acknowledge it up front. Build it into your mechanism. For example, if you're selling a sleep supplement, instead of saying fall asleep and wake up refreshed every single night, you might say, this formula helps calm the nervous system and support your body's natural sleep cycle, so you can fall asleep more easily and wake up feeling more rested. Results typically improve over the first week of consistent use. That last part, results typically improve over the first week of consistent use, actually makes the claim more believable, not less. It sets realistic expectations. It shows that you understand how supplements actually work in the real world. And here's the thing. When you set realistic expectations and then your product meets or exceeds those expectations, you create happy customers who don't return the product and who often become repeat buyers. Whereas if you overpromise and underdeliver, you create disappointed customers who ask for refunds and leave bad reviews. So grounding your mechanism, making it feel logical and realistic, isn't just a Black Friday strategy. It's a customer satisfaction strategy. Now, let's talk about the role of ingredients in your Black Friday mechanism messaging. Ingredients are tricky during Black Friday because on one hand, they're a key part of your mechanism. They're what that delivers the how. On the other hand, most people don't actually know what half the ingredients in supplements do. They see a list of 20 ingredients with complicated names and their eyes glaze over. So you need to be selective about which ingredients you highlight and how you talk about them. The mistake most brands make is they try to mention every single ingredient in their formula, giving each one equal weight. So you end up with copy that reads like, our formula contains ingredient A, which does this, and ingredient B, which does that, and ingredient C, which does this other thing, and ingredient D, which also does something. And by the time you get to ingredient E, no one is reading anymore. Instead, focus on one or two hero ingredients, the ones that are most unique, most recognizable, or most directly tied to your mechanism. If you've got a proprietary blend or a patented form of an ingredient, that should definitely be one of your hero ingredients because proprietary and patented ingredients are differentiators. They're things your competitors can't easily copy. They give you a reason to charge more, and they give customers a reason to choose you. If you've got an ingredient that people have already heard of and have positive associations with, that's another good choice for a hero ingredient. Things like turmeric or omega-3 or magnesium, because there's built-in awareness and credibility. You don't have to spend time explaining what it is or why it matters. People already get it. And then for any other ingredients in your formula, you can mention them in aggregate. Something like plus 8 additional synergistic compounds that support the body's natural healing process. That way people know there's more to the formula, but you're not bogging them down with details they don't care about. The other thing you need to think about with ingredients is dosing. And this is especially important if you're competing in a crowded category where lots of brands are using similar ingredients. Because here's what happens. Someone is comparing your joint supplement to 3 other joint supplements during Black Friday. They all have similar ingredients. They're all making similar claims. How do they decide which one to buy? Often they look at the dosing. They look at how much of each active ingredient is actually in the product. And if your competitor has 500 milligrams of glucosamine while you only have 250, you're probably going to lose that comparison, even if everything else about your product is better. So if your dosing is strong, if you're using clinical doses or higher doses than competitors, call that out in your mechanism messaging. Make it part of your mechanism of hope. Say something like, each serving delivers the clinically studied dose of ingredient X, not the underdosed amounts found in most supplements. That positions you as the serious science-based option. It builds trust and hope simultaneously. On the flip side, if your dosing isn't particularly strong, don't call attention to it. Focus on other aspects of your mechanism like ingredient quality, bioavailability, synergistic combinations, whatever. Find your angle. All right, let's talk about another element of mechanism messaging during Black Friday, and that's proof. Your mechanism needs some level of proof behind it. People need a reason to believe what you're saying is actually true and not just marketing spin. But again, during Black Friday, you need to compress how you present that proof. In your normal marketing, you might have a whole section dedicated to clinical studies with summaries of research, charts showing results, all that stuff. And that's great for people who are in deep research mode. But during Black Friday, you need to reference proof without derailing the flow of your copy. You need to build it in smoothly. The way to do this is with short proof callouts. Things like clinically studied ingredients, or backed by 15 years of research, or formulated by board-certified nutritionists, or featured in the Journal of Nutrition. These are quick credibility signals that support your mechanism without requiring people to stop and read through study details. They're trust shortcuts specifically for your mechanism. You can also use phrases like scientific studies indicate that, or research has shown that, or according to clinical trials. These phrases signal that there's science behind what you're saying without requiring you to cite specific studies in the moment. Now, obviously, you need to have actual studies and research to back up these claims. You can't just say clinical studies show if there aren't actually clinical studies. That's not just unethical, it's illegal. So make sure your proof claims are legitimate. But you don't need to present all the details up front. That's what footnotes and appendices and science pages are for, at least for Black Friday. Okay, so we've talked about compressing your mechanism, grounding it in logic, choosing hero ingredients, and building in proof callouts. Now, I want to talk about something that's really important, but often overlooked, and that's connecting your mechanism to your Black Friday offer. because your mechanism shouldn't exist in isolation from your offer. They should work together. They should reinforce each other. Here's what I mean. Let's say your Black Friday offer is a buy two, get one free deal on your sleep supplement. You could just present that as a straightforward discount. 3 bottles for the price of 2, save however many dollars. Great deal, stock up now. But you could also connect it to your mechanism. You could say something like, because this formula works by supporting your body's natural sleep cycle over time, we recommend taking it consistently for at least 90 days to experience the full benefits. That's why we're offering buy 2, get 1 free, so you can commit to the full 90-day protocol without breaking the bank. See what that does? It takes a simple discount offer and turns it into a strategic recommendation that's grounded in how the product actually works. It gives people a reason to buy more that's not just about saving money, it's about getting results. This is especially powerful if your supplement is the kind of thing that needs to be taken consistently over time to work. Most supplements are, by the way, so connect your bulk offers to that reality. Make the offer feel like it's designed to help them succeed, not just to increase your average order value. This is a big advantage other products don't have. Another way to connect your mechanism to your offer is through bundling. If you've got multiple products that work together synergistically, explain that synergy as part of your mechanism and then offer them as a bundle. For example, if you've got a probiotic and a prebiotic, you could explain that the probiotic introduces beneficial bacteria while the prebiotic feeds that bacteria, and together they work much more effectively than either one alone. Then offer them as a gut health bundle at a discount. That's not just a bundle, that's a mechanistic bundle. You're giving people a scientific reason why they should buy both products together, and then you're making it easy and affordable for them to do so. This approach works way better than just randomly bundling products together for no clear reason. Now, let's talk about something that's also specific to Black Friday, and that's how to handle mechanism messaging when you're dealing with high awareness markets. If you've been following the awareness and sophistication framework I teach, you know that most supplement categories are in stage 3 or stage 4 awareness, meaning people have heard a lot of claims before, they've seen a lot of mechanisms before, they're sophisticated buyers who are skeptical of marketing. During Black Friday, this skepticism is even higher. So if your mechanism sounds too similar to mechanisms they've heard a million times before, it's not going to work. It's going to feel like more of the same. This is where you need to find what I call a mechanism angle. You need to take your core mechanism and present it in a way that feels fresh, even if the underlying science is similar to what's already out there. One way to do this is by focusing on a specific aspect of the mechanism that others aren't talking about. Even if multiple brands are using the same ingredient, they might be emphasizing different aspects of how it works. For example, if you're selling a turmeric supplement, everyone knows turmeric is anti-inflammatory. That's old news. That's table stakes. So don't lead with that. Instead, maybe you focus on the brain health benefits of curcumin, or the way it supports joint mobility specifically, not just reduces inflammation, or the fact that your formula includes black pepper extract, which increases absorption by 2,000%. Although that's old news, but you get the idea. Find the angle that's different. One way to create a fresh mechanism angle is by talking about what's not in your product. This is the mechanism of exclusion. You're explaining that most supplements in your category contain fillers or additives or low-quality forms of ingredients that actually work against the desired outcome. And your product specifically avoids those things. This works because it positions you as the informed, careful, quality-focused option in a sea of inferior competitors. And it doesn't require you to make bigger claims or use more hype. It's a different kind of differentiation. All right, I want to wrap this up by giving you a really simple framework you can use to craft your Black Friday mechanism messaging. I call it the 3-sentence mechanism. And the structure looks like this. Sentence 1 is your mechanism of trust. It identifies the root cause, the real reason they've been struggling. Start with something like, the real reason you've been struggling with X is because of Y. Sentence 2 is your mechanism of hope. It explains how your product addresses that root cause. Something like, our formula contains ingredient Z, which specifically targets Y by doing this thing. Sentence 3 is your proof and connection to the offer. It gives them a reason to believe and a reason to act now. Something like, clinically studied ingredients delivered in the doses that work, and right now you can get 3-month supply at our best price of the year. 3 sentences, that's it. That's your core mechanism messaging for Black Friday. Obviously, you'll have other copy around this. You'll have headlines. You'll have testimonials. You'll have bullet points listing benefits. You'll have your trust elements we talked about last episode. But your mechanism itself, the heart of why your product works and why they should believe in it, that can be delivered in 3 tight sentences. And then for people who want more detail, you can have expandable sections where they can dig into the science. But you don't force everyone to read through all that detail before they understand the core idea. Because during Black Friday, speed matters. Clarity matters. Getting to the point matters. Your mechanism is the reason someone should choose your product over the dozens of other options they're looking at. It's what creates hope that this will work for them. It's what gives them permission to believe in the possibility of change. But it only works if they actually read it and process it, and they'll only do that if it's clear, concise, compelling, and believable. So take your existing mechanism messaging and put it through the compression process. Cut out the fluff. Focus on the core insight. Ground it in logic. Build in proof. Connect it to your offer. And test it to make sure it makes sense to someone who's never heard of you before and is moving fast. Do that, and your Black Friday mechanism will convert. Do it wrong, and you'll just be another supplement brand shouting about discounts, wondering why no one is buying. All right, that's it for this episode. Next time, we're going to talk about awareness and sophistication specifically for Black Friday. How to position your supplement differently depending on where the market sits during this insanely noisy period, because the same mechanism can land completely differently depending on how you frame it based on market awareness. So make sure you catch that episode. Until then, go compress your mechanism, get it tight, make it hit hard, and I'll see you next time.